Welcome to another edition of Forgotten Treasures. My name is Vince Negro, and with us today is our third co-host, is Shan, better known by everybody in the city as Shan the Watchfinder, or
That's
Shan
right.
from Watchfinder.
Thank you, Vince.
Your location's on Cumberland.
Yes.
As I've said from our previous shows, there are three co-hosts. There is Gary Manata, who's got his expertise. There's Armando Terro on the antique side and the collectibles. And there's you, Shan, who everybody in the city, when they want to get a watch or a ring, bags now, all kinds of, and we'll get into that.
Luxury items,
Luxury
yes.
items, even cars, because I saw one of the cars that you were driving the other day that, as you say, everything's for sale.
Yes, yes.
Except your kids.
Maybe.
And maybe, even that is negotiable.
They're being bad right now. Yeah.
Shan, before we get into it, how did you end up getting into this business? Was this something that you had a passion for the jewelry?
Yes.
Just give us a little bit of background in terms of
I was
how you
always a
went-
collector of timepieces, and then in 2009 I had an opportunity to open a small office in the Diamond District in Toronto, which is at Yonge and Shooter, that area,
Right.
Yonge and Dundas. That's where all the
diamond industry is.
yeah,
right.
yeah, this privates. And so I started off, it's a really cool story. We're gonna get on it, how faith works on another show, but as a collector, I started in a little 200 square feet office, and within 2 months, we moved downstairs. There's a bunch of different booths, and then from there, I was looking to scale it up, and I found a location in Yorkville, and then we've been there for 10 years now. So
You also have a second location on Eglinton?
no, we had a second location on Eglinton, but because we're looking for a bigger expansion now, so we took our brand off that store. We're looking to go multinational now. We're looking at markets in Calgary and Vancouver and Montreal. We want to scale it up a little bit more because the watch industry has blown up like crazy.
Right. And do you sell a lot of your stuff online as well, or is it just walk-ins or?
So we're number one website for pre-owned watches in Canada. If you Google anything Rolex, chances are we come up right after Rolex, watchfinder.ca. And there's a lot of scams online, unfortunately, and there's not enough protection for small businesses to sell online. So if a customer sees the watch, he asks about the watch, we have a return policy. They can wire the money into the account, and then we'll send them the watch, and then if they're not happy, we can always reverse that. But what I found through a lot of online, because of the, Rolexes is the number one in the world stolen or obtained by fraud, where you retain 70–80% of the value. There's nothing else that so there's a lot of people trying to take a run at us at all times, buy a Rolex, and then we send them the watch, and then the credit card company calls us and says we got to reverse it, so I lose the money and the watch. So I try not to do that. So if you like the watch, call us. We'll do a live screen. We'll do and we built. If you look at our feedback online, we have a great feedback that we take. Customer service is my main thing. I have a lot of competition out there. I'm not the only one doing it in Canada. But to me, first, I'm not a museum. I don't buy watches to hold for next 50 years. If I make some money, I make you happy. I make some money, and
Right.
I move on from there. So
Just as an aside, I was in your neighborhood about 2 weeks ago, and a friend of mine was with me, and
That's
he
right.
had heard of the Watchfinder, but he had never met you.
Right.
And it's a true story. He meets you, and within a couple hours, you had sold him a watch, and he had told me he was very impressed with your knowledge about the watch, and he showed it with pride that he had gotten a reasonably great watch that he enjoyed at a great price.
Yes.
And when I saw it, it looked.
So perfect example is that he ended up, our friend bought a Panerai from us. So that Panerai retails for about $15,000. We had it listed at about $11,000 plus tax. We had, because of our relationship, and we like to do deals, I think it ended up being $8,000 all in for him. So we're one of those shops you come there, you can negotiate, have a coffee. We make the experience so nice, because guys that buy those kind of watches, they don't need another timepiece.
Right.
They can go walk into any store and buy it. So we make the experience much better. We deliver it to their house, we follow up. They need a little polish, so we always take care of it on the house. So service is our number one.
So, Shan, our viewing audience that are watching this, they have to be really careful in terms of even who they deal with, because even the parts of these watches
That's right.
can be taken out and fake
That's right,
parts
that's
can be put in.
right. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that whole.
So my perfect example is Bob Marin. Bob Marin watches in the U.S. He's one of the biggest. This guy's collection is probably $200-300 million, and he sells to John Mayer, Charlie Sheen, a lot of the big celebrities. And the thing with John Mayer, he's suing him for $500,000. So I know he spent about $7-8 million with Bob, and he's suing him for $500,000. So that what it shows me that he had bought some vintage Rolexes, and when he went back to Rolex looked at the watch, and some screws, some wheels were replaced. So he went back and sued him. So there's even the best of the best can't know that somebody replaced the parts inside the watches. The thing comes that everybody asks me, why don't you do there's a company in the US called 11 James, they rent watches. I said, that's fine.
They
but
actually rent watches.
yeah, they rent, so they have a package, so $200 gets you $2,000 and under per month. They do a whole program like that. So I said, but if somebody needs some of these watches, if you need one part, it's like $2,000. And with timepieces, they go away for 8 months. They gotta go back to Switzerland, they'll put the part in, they'll service it, and then send it back to you. So if somebody takes one part out of one of my watches, the watch is dead for next 8 months. So it wasn't feasible for me to do the rent because of that reason, because if they change parts or something happens.
So in our future show, Sean, like a lot of people who will be watching the show will be calling in, they may have a Rolex,
Yes.
they may have another timepiece
That's right.
that they either would maybe want to sell.
Right.
Because, when times get a little bit difficult and people can't pay their bills,
Right.
like
Those are
their
the first
watches
things
are
to go.
probably one of the first things that they
That's
get
right.
value. And coming to the watch finder or having people call in, and we're going to be having call-ins
Right.
of people wanting to get some advice and experience
Right.
from what you have done with your watches and how they can monetize it or improve their timepieces.
Right. So what happens was about 5 years ago at the height of gold, which gold is high again today, we had about 5 stores called Smart Gold. My brand was called Smart Gold. Everybody had it, and we were very successful with it because we came forward as Smart Gold, be smart with your gold. So don't go to these Mickey Mouse guys that just open up overnight and steal everything from your heirlooms or your parents have left you. So we would go, actually did it the other day. I said, come with me and I'll show you where I melt the gold, and from the invoice, you gotta give me 10%, because usually those stores charge you about 30%.
Right.
There's diamonds in there they don't tell you about. Timepieces is the biggest thing, right? One little watch can be worth $70,000. I had a client last month, he was from Vancouver, he called me. He says, in 1984, I was a pilot, my friends were all pilots, and I went to Rolex. I bought this thing called the Cosmograph, which nobody liked. It was $1,200. All my friends bought the Datejust. We're gonna get to Rolex models, which you're wearing one today.
We're gonna talk about that.
So he came to me and goes, I paid $1,200. What can you offer me today? I said, I can offer you $70,000. Your friends' watches are still $2,000 today, but your watch is $70,000, and I would retail it for about $80,000 and up. So he didn't know what he had. He came to the store to sell it to me. I said, you know what? I think you should. He had his kids with him. I said, you should put this away for your kids. I said, this watch is only going up. So.
Yeah.